up and you're looking up as you're driving and you're not paying attention to where you're going and you hit something.
Yeah, and as far as the heart attacks goes, those people were probably going to have heart attacks anyway.
Sooner or later.
People have heart attacks, so it's probably, probably not even related.
Yeah. Well, during the time, this half hour that we're putting all this ordnance into the air, more crazy accounts are happening.
Okay.
So the accounting from when the firing stopped to when it finished,
Start to finish,
yeah, completely unreliable.
Okay.
Because there were reports that there was a craft in the air that was moving between quote unquote very slow to 200 miles an hour.
Yep.
There were multiples. At least 4 enemy craft were shot down, and one of them crashed onto one of the major roads in Los Angeles.
Seems legit.
But the wreckage mysteriously disappeared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nothing was found.
No.
Nothing was found on the ground in terms of enemy craft. So there's a big issue. But the other thing is that after they had done all this firing, so the searchlights are going on, they were pumping all these rounds in the air, we're trying to find an enemy and just hose them with it and cut them down. They stop the firing, and then 40 P-38 fighters are launched from one of the local military installations to go into the air, find these enemy craft, and track them down. And then find anything. Nobody else was up there.
Yeah.
No other enemy craft. Like I said, there was nothing that was on the ground, no dead, no wreckage, nothing.
Yeah. I'm just going to do a little aside here. There's a episode of Futurama where there's killbots. And you know the killbots, right?
I think I remember,
just machine guns that are robots.
Yes.
Right?
What a great idea.
Yeah.
I like that.
And there's so many joke scenes about this, right? Where like somebody will be like, "Oh, I don't know, it seems like there was a fire," and they'd be like, "Fire!" and they'd start to fire and be like, "Did somebody say fire? What's going on, guys?" And it'd just be like just like chaos. And I a little bit feel like that happened. Like somebody was like, "Oh, there's something in the sky! Fire!" Everyone was like, "Fire! We're on fire! We're just."
Exactly.
Shooting.
The first battery opens up, and then all the other batteries go, "Oh, there's something going on, I guess."
Somebody got a little trigger happy, and then everybody was like, "Oh, we better join in."
Yeah.
That's a little bit what it sounds like.
That's
right
exactly
now.
it. And
I'm sorry, I don't mean to like tread on the
No,
theories,
because that's kind of the way I was thinking of it. Is it's the old movie trope of one guy fires and suddenly all the
Everybody's
machine guns
firing.
just going. And it's like, we don't know what we're firing at. We were just shooting.
Yep.
He started it.
Oh.
And then the thing about it is too is the flak rounds, when they go off, they actually leave a trace of smoke behind. They make smoke, so I'm sure the air was pretty smoky up there.
Exactly, and when
and then searchlights are moving across all that layer of smoke.
And we're going to talk about some of that when we get into the theories, but there is a lot of smoke in the air because of all this 1,400 plus rounds that are up there exploding. It just turned into a murky mess.
Yeah, it's Los Angeles. It already was a murky mess.
Not in the 40s. Not by then.
No,
probably not as bad.
But so did the military say anything about this?
Oh yeah. They put out some reports.
Okay.
The next day, one military official said that the entire thing happened due to a false alarm.
Yeah, fire.
Exactly. There was another guy who swore that he had seen an aircraft, and it was most certainly some kind of craft in the air. Now, remember, at this point, the term UFO isn't in circulation, so they weren't saying it was a UFO. But he said, I definitely saw something in the air. He was shortly thereafter mothballed.
What? I'm sorry.
Mothballed means he was retired.
Yeah, I think the word you're thinking of is like cashiered.
That's another one. They basically put him out to farm.
Yeah. Mothballed is when you take something and you put it in storage for the possibility of future usage.
Oh, that's okay.
So
all right. Well,
it was cashiered.
What does cashiered mean? Same thing?
Yeah.
It means he was canned.
He was canned. He was done. They put him on pension. Thank you very much for your service.
Did they actually put him on pension? Because he could have just kept talking.
No, he was. As I understand, the guy had been in for like 20.
Yeah, he was a high-ranking official.
Okay.
He was very decorated. It wasn't like some private.
Okay.
Who just thank you, private. You're done. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Let's see. There was a official War Department statement. And I love the official War Department statement, by the way.
And I really like the fact that it was called the War Department.
Yeah.
Now they're called Department of Defense. I like war better.
Yeah, it's just got a better ring to it.
A little more honest. Yeah.
So the War Department said, and I quote, either they were commercial planes operated by an enemy from secret fields in California or Mexico, or they were light planes launched from Japanese submarines. In either case, the enemy's purpose must have been to locate anti-aircraft defenses in the area or to deliver a blow at civilian morale.
Mission
I guess-
succeeded. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely going to locate the anti-aircraft batteries in the area.
Oh, yeah.
By sacrificing yourself, of course.
Yeah, by going kamikaze.
Yeah, of course, there's no reason to do that because, I mean, as we all know from the descriptions of the Venona, have you heard of Venona?
This it sounds sort of familiar, but it's not ringing a bell.
Well, Venona was this big project, basically. So we intercepted and decrypted all the communications between Japan and basically all of their allies and their spies in the U.S., etc.
Okay.
So essentially, we were aware of the fact that there were Japanese spies in America.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we were well aware of this. That's why the Japanese were interned, which was, by the way, let me state, was not fair because
Yeah, it was a really bad move
because,
on our part.
Yeah.
99% of them, I'm sure, were not spies, but there were a good number of spies in that community.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that all came out, decades afterwards when they finally declassified this stuff. So when you've got all these spies on the ground, there's really no need to sacrifice planes and pilots to try to find out where the anti-aircraft batteries are.
It's a little extreme.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a hard way to go about
Tough
it.
to get somebody to volunteer for that task.
Yeah.
Especially when, the thing about it is you send a couple of planes in there and they get shot down and killed. How's he going to, report back the positions to the enemy?
Well, but that's what the spies are for, right? Like, the spies can't figure it out because they're just, hidden in, towers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Sitting on the top of ridges, quite
you
obviously,
just,
with a big gun on it.
Yeah.
No, it was hidden. It had a ribbon on it, probably, like a tree maybe, around it. So they couldn't tell where it was, so they were like, all right, send a couple jets in. Or not jets, I'm sorry, planes in.
Yeah.
And the things will go off, and we'll be like, okay, we can mark them on the map, and then we'll send the map back to you guys, and then we'll know where they are.
Oh.
Which I don't know why that would be helpful,
Yeah.
to just know where they are. But sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the whole and the other purpose, of course, is if you plan a massive air raid on Los Angeles, don't you have better things to do with your military assets, destroying military assets rather than just bombing a civilian city?
Yeah. I mean, the whole statement by the War Department was a little weird to me, and I kind of equate it to saving face.
Yeah.
I think that they didn't want to admit that they had screwed up,
That somebody yelled fire.
that somebody yelled fire.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, although, for the guys way up higher, it's not that embarrassing because there's just some yokels down there manning the anti. Just say, yeah, sorry, well,
Sorry about that.
somebody got a little trigger happy.
Sorry. Well, that's the story. So now let's get into some theories about what happened.
Okay.
And right off the bat, the easiest theory is, well, duh, it was a UFO.
UFOs!
Of course, UFO, yeah.
Well, okay, let's be honest here, right? Let's be very honest. Technically, it was an unidentified flying object.
Absolutely.
Technically, there
Real
could
or
have been
fictional.
an unidentified flying object. You are correct.
You mean that class of UFO that we call flying saucers?
Well,
That's-
that is one of them, and actually, there's multiple UFO theories on this
Oh.
one. I think I kind of stole your thunder today, Devin, because I know
Yeah.
you love the UFO style
I do.
stories, and this, I believe, has 3, if not 4,
What?
UFO components.
I
to
can't believe you stole this story from me then.
it. Yeah, you can. 'Cause we talked
Nah,
about it.
you're right. Fine. Selling me out.
Yep. Okay. Theory number 1. It was a friendly flying saucer that just happened to have super awesome shields.
What?
Okay, here's the theory. You remember we were talking about the news footage earlier and the floodlights that were in the air? Well, there's also a very iconic photo that was run in the LA Times that is multiple searchlights all shining on one location.
Yeah.
Now, that photo, we're going to talk about that, but that photo is what a lot of UFO enthusiasts are drawn to in this
You
story.
mean ufologists?
Those people, too.
UFO experts.
And what they do is everybody says, well, obviously they were focusing on something and it must have been a UFO. They say that it must have had fantastic shields, and so it didn't get hurt by
So
all
it
of
made it
the
out
flak.
unscathed.
And it was able to, go into warp drive and get out of there.
Right, and they had to be benevolent because they didn't shoot back, so they must have been friendly.
Absolutely. Either that, or we really ticked them off, and they're heading back to the mothership, and they're coming back right
And
as we speak.
they're like, oh, this is going to be quick, which is 100 years for them, but it's just a short hop. Here's how our friends prove their theory.
I'm sorry, let's refer to them as ufologists. That is
Here's
their
how the
official-
ufologists.
Yeah.
I can't say that word, which is why I wasn't doing
I'm
because I
sorry.
stumbled over
Okay,
it.
fine.
I'm not good with my words. This is how they prove that there had to have been something in those spotlights.
And
They put it in Photoshop and they adjust the holy crap out of it until a shape appears at the apex of all of those
it's
searchlights.
flying saucer shape.
I just did that at work today.
Did you?
Well, yeah.
Did you do that with that Los Angeles Times
No,
photo?
I did it with a picture of some people, and they suddenly turned really, really pale and unhappy looking.
Yeah, Photoshop is fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun, but here's my problem.
Well, yeah.
That original photo
Mm-hmm.
was retouched.
What?
Yeah.
When they took that photo to make it proper for print and stand out from the page, they had to doctor the negative. They used white paint on the negative to really, really make sharp contrast. So that is not a reliable image.
Which
Okay.
is sad too, because the original negative has been pretty much just defaced. So
It has, but there was actually somebody found a copy of it in 2011 in
copy
some
of the
archive.
original?
Was it a copy of it, or was it just like a frame or two away?
It was an original. It was a copy of the original native before they did the photo retouching. So it didn't have paint and all that other crud on it. And they did the same thing. They scanned the negative. They did all the analysis. And they didn't find as much of a distinct object in there, which I personally believe that distinct object was probably the paint. But they didn't find nearly as much there. But they still say, well, we found something because we knew what we were looking for.
I looked at these pictures online, and I think I would agree that it vaguely looks like there's something there. But in my opinion, what it looks like is like 12 different spotlights all coming together to form a thing,
super
like a
bright
shape,
spot.
a bright
kind of.
spot
Yeah.
on a cloud of smoke, or just a cloud.
Or just whatever, that to me it
Yeah.
doesn't look like there's anything solid or like of any kind of substance.
Well, and the thing about it is that even if you had the original negative, it was very dark out, and so that one spot where they all came together was so bright, considering the settings the camera was on and everything. It was so overexposed. It was that part of the photo was completely blown out.
And you know what the best part is?
Yeah.
It's obvious that it's an extended shot.
Well, of course it is.
It had to be an extended shot. It's a delayed exposure.
Yeah.
And for anybody that looks at this image, there's a real easy way to figure it out. Don't look at the bright spot where all the spotlights are coming together, but instead look at all the little explosions, which are those anti-aircraft rounds going off. There's, I don't know, a dozen or so of them, all exploding at once.
Which ones are you talking about?
There's the convergence point where the spotlights are at, and then as you look in that dark sky area, you will see all these
those
bright
little
winks.
dots, you mean?
Yeah.
I think those are lens flares. I don't think those
No,
are
that
explosions.
it had to have been a delayed exposure, and there was only, like I said, 4 to 6 locations that were shooting rounds off. Well, they can only shoot so fast, and everything couldn't have been exploding all at once. So it had to be a several second, if not a minute long exposure.
Yeah. So anyway, the upshot of it is, though, is that center spot where the saucer supposedly was completely blown out.
Oh yeah, no.
So I don't care how sophisticated your computer software is, you can't restore information that's been destroyed.
Right,
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's
Yeah, I
gone.
know, and I do not disagree with you at all.
Well, and it's gone in a really interesting way, but it's gone.
It's no longer there.
Yeah.
And so
So that is the first ufologists theory. Did I say that
Okay.
word right?
I think it's actually pronounced ufologist.
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 You guys cut it
I'm
out.
sorry.
Okay. Next UFO theory is that it was a horde of little alien ships.
Oh yeah.
So here's what they say is that, well, actually we talked about this, the footage.
Yeah, I
Remember
watched
the,
it.
the
I don't know
video
if Joe
footage.
got a
Joe, I don't
chance
know if you
to.
ever
No,
got
I did not get a chance to look at that.
Okay. Well, before we get into the footage, I know I told Devin this, but I really, really love listening to the narration because it was old news film.
Yeah.
And it was in the county of Los Angeles. Los Angeles. Los Angeles. It was just really funny to hear it pronounced that way rather than Los Angeles as we all say it now.
Yeah.
I don't
What
know.
that means,
Maybe
nothing
that's how
to the
they did
story.
it.
I just found it funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, they did get some film footage of the explosions, and people point out that they can make out shapes in the lower corner. I think it's the lower left-hand frame of the corner near the spotlights, and then these shapes take off to the left.
They don't really, though. I mean, okay, so, and I know I'm a little jumping on your toes right now.
Nope, have at it.
But it just, okay, so there are two really great, super plausible explanations for this, both of which are way better than it's something that's like taking off, right? Like, okay, you can see things exploding around this like space. So, okay, maybe there is a little shadow that passes through the light. Maybe that actually happened. But it's just as plausible that it's just a bunch of little shrapnel pieces as it is that they're like little ships. They don't move in any way that stands out as like, oh wow, that thing moves like a ship, like it's being controlled by an intelligent being. It moves like gravity's pulling something through. Also, it's really old film. It's degraded. They got spots on it all the time, particularly if you're shooting a film in this kind of like weird shadowy like,
Well, yeah.
I mean,
And it's black
Yeah.
and white. Remember, everybody, we're talking black and white footage.
and it's being shot in like there's just shrapnel going off everywhere. It's not ideal conditions.
No, it's middle of the night.
You know, it's
dark.
actual film. Things happen to it, and you can see like earlier in other places, in less interesting maybe places, that there are definitely spots on the film. So to say, oh no, it's definitely not a spot, like it just, well, because it wasn't convenient for it to be, it was convenient for it to be a spot over there, but it's not convenient here. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and the other thing about the footage that I saw is, like I said, everybody's analyzed the holy heck out of this. And somebody took several frames of it and made stills and would point out a dot. By the way, I have issue with the fact that sometimes they were dots and sometimes they were cigar-shaped objects, but I'm going to set that on the table. There's one place that I saw where they say, here it is in frame 1, and then the frame 2 that they've shown, it's now shifted to the left, and then in frame 3, it's gone up and to the left. Okay, well, here's the problem. It's some guy out in the dark with a wooden tripod with a giant heavy film camera trying to pan around, which means that thing is shaking like mad from all the concussions. So of course the camera's going to vibrate and jerk around, and whatever it's looking at and recording is going to quote unquote appear to move because the camera has actually shifted.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing that really speaks to that theory is that they zoom really in on this one spot. Because if you were going frame by frame on all the film, you would see everything kind of jumping around.
Yeah.
I feel
Yes.
that's probably a fairly accurate assessment. That
And
everything
if you
was
watch
kind
the
of-
footage, you can tell that things are really shaky.
Yeah.
It's really shaky footage.
Could've
They
even
didn't
been.
have steady cams.
Might have even been handheld, you think?
No way. No,
Maybe
those.
it could have been on the shoulder.
It might have
maybe.
been a shoulder camera, but I don't know. Those cameras were pretty big and
Yeah,
bulky.
but
at that
in
point.
I guess like in extreme circumstances. Like
Oh, yeah,
that,
in extreme
sometimes
circumstances, people
are
will
just
do it.
like, well,
Well, that's the horde of little ships. Let's move on to the next, which is, and I love this name. It is a variation for Pleiadian beam ship.
oh, a
Yeah.
Pleiadian
That's
beam
my,
ship.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yes, Pleiadian.
Okay, yeah.
Those guys.
I'm on it.
Okay. here's how this goes, and I apologize if I sound like I'm dismissive of this theory.
But you are, so.
I'm not trying to be, but where this one comes from, I really, really call it shaky footage. So there's a person, like I said, everybody's been doing this photo analysis, and the one thing that the person who put this together is I really appreciated that they took the images from that night and they superimposed them onto current photographs of Los Angeles. So you can kind of get a perspective of where it was.
Yeah,
I saw
that
those
was really
pictures.
helpful.
And that was
kind of cool.
Yeah, it was really, and they made them as gifts, so it kind of the photo, the black and white would kind of fade in and out, so you get a perspective of where it was. But what this person did in this particular article that I found, is they said, well, there's this other guy who's got all these UFO photos, and they took one of these supposed UFO photos that is from a guy named Billy Meyer. And they took Billy Meyer's photo, and that's where the name Variation 4 Pleiadian Beam Ship came from. Is he says that's what it is.
How did you know that?
He made it
Because he
up.
talks to aliens.
Because he made it up.
Yeah.
I know.
He talks to aliens. But no, they superimposed it, and when they did their adjustments to the original, the shape matches. This is, I'm not going to go into Billy Myers a whole lot. Actually, I've got about 2 sentences on Billy Myers because that's as far as I want to go. But this guy, since the 70s, has been publishing photos of alien craft. He's been publishing audio recordings of alien crafts. He's been reporting abductions, and he's been reporting contacts and conversations with alien species. He's been doing this for 50 years, and none of his stuff is even close to being substantiated. And I looked at some of his supposed photos, and they kind of look like the old hubcap on a string.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
people like you that are put here by the aliens
I know,
to
exactly.
keep people who are actually experiencing
Does not
abduction.
compute. I mean, no, I'm not.
Should we kill him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we probably should.
No!
Let me get the 9mm.
I'm just a lizard person.
Yeah.
I'm a real human being.
But I gotta say that his flying saucer, which I've seen pictures of, is kind of cheesy looking. It's very, very 50s.
It's very 50s, and it
You know,
also looks exactly the same in every picture.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that there's something to be said for, like, too much of the same thing.
Maybe, show it from different angles, dude. Huh?
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
give us a different angle or
Yeah.
something. Like, give it to us, like, lower or higher. It's just
Yeah.
like it looks the exact same in every
Yeah, it's
single
very
one.
convenient.
Yeah, I agree.
I have to say, and I don't want to blow my own horn, but I haven't ever faked a UFO photo, but I'm sure I could come up with a much better one. I know I could.
Yeah.
And in fact, as soon as we're done recording, let's fake a UFO photo.
Let's not.
Oh, come on.
Okay, well, we're done with UFOs. So
We're done with beam ships?
we're done with the beam ship.
But the Pleiadians,
Are upset that we didn't give them more airtime. I know,
Is it
but
Pleiadians or Pleiadians?
I just went through the how to say UFOologist,
y'all,
and now you're gonna
ufologists.
you two are killing me.
Get it right, you racist.
Okay. Well, our next
Let's be
theory
serious again.
is actually one that everybody has heard, which is that it was a weather balloon.
Okay, so I talk to my mom about these stories every once in a while. No, listen. She just wants to know. She's just very interested, and she said, what are you guys recording tonight? And I was kind of telling her, and she said, I bet it was a weather balloon. It's always a weather balloon.
It's always a weather
It always
balloon.
is.
She said that, so
It's a total trope.
Yeah.
It absolutely is a total trope. It's that or swamp gas.
Yeah.
There were two things that were always, that's what it was. That weird thing that you saw was swamp gas or a weather balloon.
The weird thing is like it's always a weather balloon. So you get the impression that weather balloons are being released by the hundreds every hour.
Well, they
all
are.
around. But have either one of you ever seen somebody releasing a weather balloon?
I have not.
no.
Neither
Because
have
we have
I.
better technology than that now.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they still use weather balloons.
Well, but they're not as much.
Yeah.
But they do use
Yeah,
it.
they're still in use.
But let's get into this. So they were actually in use on a regular basis at that time.
Yeah.
Here's how a weather balloon works, just so we get the basis of it down. is it's a 6-foot round balloon. It's got a piece of recording equipment on it, because usually it was for meteorological stuff, so weather and all of that.
Yeah.
That's why they call them weather balloons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what happens is they let the balloon go, and it's got some kind of gas, helium or hydrogen, whatever it might be in it. It rises, and when it hits a certain altitude, the change in pressure is so great that the balloon, as it's rising, will begin to expand. It'll hit a certain altitude and hit its peak altitude, and the balloon will have expanded 5 to 6 times its original size, at which point it breaks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then all of the equipment that's on it would fall to Earth.
It'll get shattered.
Wouldn't get shattered, but then they would track it down, or it would have a tag on it, please turn into, and, you know, X and X division, please call these people. They would come collect it, and they would take up whatever data it had recorded.
Yeah.
That's how a weather balloon works. Really basic. But they were being used all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And do you remember when I was talking about the reports that were coming in? One of the reports was there was an object that was moving, quote unquote, very slow.
Yeah, I guess a
across the
balloon
night.
would be pretty slow, huh?
A balloon can only go as fast as the wind currents.
And from what I understand, the anti-aircraft positions themselves were releasing balloons just to get an idea of wind conditions, correct?
Every 6 hours.
Oh, fire!
They were releasing balloons every 6 hours, and as a matter of fact, shortly before the firing took place, the 203rd Coast Artillery Regiment had let one go.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course.
So they let it go, and then they said, "Oh, what the hell is that? Oh my God!"
Actually, I think they were one of the regiments that might not have fired. There was one regiment that didn't shoot any rounds during this, and I think it was them.
Why weren't they frantically on the horn like, stop, you guys, stop!
I
know.
think they were, because their CEO is like, dude, no. Calling everybody else, and they can't hear the phone ringing.
It's like on silent in their pocket, you know.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
But okay, so I guess my question would be then, right? Like, it's a balloon, right? So it's like you hit it once with shrapnel and it's done.
Not necessarily.
Really?
Yeah, so this was, when I was doing the reading on this, I actually had to go out and do a little research on weather balloons, because I thought the same thing. It's like a party balloon. You hit it with something and it's gone.
It pops, yeah.
But that isn't the case. They're actually pretty thick, because think about it, it expands 5 to 6
I
times
guess.
its width. And here's how it goes, is that things that are in the air, so they refer to it as rigid and semi-rigid craft. So you could think of
Like a blimp.
balloons as semi-rigid, and like the old Zeppelins, that would be a rigid craft.
Okay.
That are using air pressure of some kind of, or gas pressure to rise. They don't need to hold their shape 100% to float.
Oh.
And when things collide into them, they dent and it bounces off, or maybe they get a small puncture, but they may not just pop all the way right
slowly
there.
sink. And the thing about it is, too, this is Los Angeles, so if it flops to the ground, deflated, well, it's Los Angeles. There's lots of litter. And it's still, everybody's going to think, wow, this is just some trash.
Yeah.
And it probably got swept up the next day
And-
if it landed within city limits.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And
And if not, there were weather balloons coming down all the time, right?
Yeah,
Because they were
exactly.
releasing them every 6 hours.
Oh, and by the way, to our LA listeners, I'm just kidding. I know that Los Angeles is no trashier than most American cities. Just joking.
but no, that's the thing, is that
It would just look like garbage.
Yeah, and if it gets a puncture, let's say that one of these anti-aircraft rounds goes off near it, it's not going to explode. It's going to get a couple of punctures, and then it's going to do what balloons in your house do. Your party balloons, they go, and they slowly go down when they get the little puncture in them.
That was
instead
a good
of a
sound effect.
It was.
Yeah.
I worked on that for hours before
I know,
the show.
I
Thank
know.
God we got that on tape, too. Yeah. We can use that again and again and again.
Wait, we use tape? But yeah, no. So it's very plausible that it was a weather balloon. The thing is, and this and the next theory, I have issues with saying it was a weather balloon because that doesn't say or that doesn't explain what was picked up off the coast. Remember all that 120 miles?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Well, it could be that these guys released it and it roared out, zipped out to 100 miles off the coast, and then slowly came back in. Or more likely, it could be coincidental.
It could have been something else.
It could be. And radar is not 100% effective. I mean, you can pick up ghosts on radar.
And it was
Like
like
something
an
coming up.
hour later, right? They saw something out there, and then like an hour later,
Right.
which I guess at the time.
That's even for that time. That's a really slow-moving plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very well. And you talked about the what was the bomb balloons? What was the one?